We're good? We're great? We're ready? All right. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Yes, it's been 2 years, and I guess that's been too long. So I'll be back certainly sooner. As I said earlier in my introduction, I had mentioned that my job is to go around and help members and certainly people understand what this whole BNI system is, right? And it's easy to talk about. We're the largest in the world, the most amount of active members. We've generated over $14 billion of closed business in the last 12 months. But when you really think about that, what does that mean to you in this room, right? I mean, from a point of view of our history and our legacy, it means a lot because we've tested and tried and made all the mistakes you could possibly make in the world of developing relationship marketing, developing networking, and developing the groups as we see it today. And that, for Dr. Meisner, who started literally 32 years ago, or 33 years ago now, this is the finished product, and it's important that we've evolved, right? When we think about how the world has changed so rapidly, right? And the technology, what it's done to us, right? Just this morning, I saw Tim Cook from Apple. I don't know if anybody saw this. He mentioned that there's a new app coming out, and they were talking about we're looking at our phones too much, right? We are glued in. And he said, you know, I heard about that, but I knew I didn't have a phone problem, right? Especially if you're the CEO of the largest phone company in the world, you would think that would certainly not even be a problem, right? But you know what? He said, I have a problem. I have to figure out how to disconnect. And what we really realize is the internet has been a great device to allow us to reach throughout the world and touch people we never would have had an opportunity to touch. But what it's doing in the process, it's allowing us to ignore the people right in front of us. Right? When you're sitting at a restaurant, I'm sure you can look over and you've seen it. You may even be at the table that this is happening. 4 people sitting at a table, what's everybody doing? On their phone, right? No one's talking, right? No one's listening, that means. If no one's talking, no one's listening. The only way you get to develop relationships is through human connection. When you come here for this hour and a half, it's all about the human connection. Right? It's all about getting to know each other, getting to understand each other, getting to like each other and know each other. The other day, and it was interesting, I was on the elevator talking that same topic, and literally, it so happened I had my hands full with 2 bags. I get on the elevator on 13, and it's funny, we practice elevator pitches, right? You know all that, we talk about that, and I love chatting with people, as you could probably guess. And I'm standing with my 2 bags, and there's 3 other people, and I look at them, I look over there, I realize I'm lonely. I can't talk to anybody right now because it would be like interrupting this, what seemed to be a very important process they're through. But what happened, you know why I even noticed it? Because I had my hands full. I would have been on my phone. Right? I wouldn't have seen them. And if you don't see them, you can't understand them. If you don't understand them, you can't make a difference in their lives. And so what I ask all of you, and what we do here, is to think about the relationships that you've created here as members, and certainly for the guests here today, and we thank you for coming, is think about how many people are you connecting with on a daily basis, and how many lives are you impacting and making that difference with. It can't happen with the device. It can't happen on a computer. I mean, years ago in BNI, we talked about, you think about the classic person that networked, right? They got up and it was this big screen TV you woke up in front of. And you're listening to the news. Then you get on your iron can, the train, or maybe you Uber or Via or whatever. But now it doesn't matter because you got your headsets in anyway, so you're not talking to anybody for sure, right, as you go to work. Then you get in front of your computer at work and you sit there all day staring at a computer and wondering why am I not getting any new business, right? And then occasionally you'll go to events at night and what do? You hand out a bunch of cards to a bunch of strangers, right? Tom said something very powerful earlier. Handing out cards to strangers doesn't have an enormous value. Handing out a card, either of yourself or certainly of someone else, to someone you know and like and trust, and they trust you, is very powerful. So when you go to these networking events and just pass out cards, you know what that's called?
Throwing the cards out.
Exactly right. It's helping the printer, right? Printers like that. That's okay. I get it. I don't want to take you out of business. But if we actually thought that worked, why don't we just go outside and hand out cards? Right? Because we know they would barely get to the corner, right? If you handed them. But guess what? They may go far. You know, I used to be the king of the business cards. I take them home and I put them onto my pile. I put them in my office and I had more cards and more cards and more cards and more cards. And what did that mean? Nothing. I had a creative thing. Years later, I thought maybe I should just take these cards and just start calling people. I say, hey, we met at some point in the past. I have no idea who you are. I'm sure you don't know who I am. We should do business. Right? Is that going to work? Right? The philosophy of BNI, we talk about giver's gain. What does it mean first? Giving is really giving of yourself, giving your time, but it's getting to know each other. It's being an active listener, really getting to sense where someone's at in their life and then figuring out how you can make a difference. Sometimes that difference is the solution of your business, but sometimes the solution is something totally different. I mean, I think about BNI, I look at my life over the years, and I remember years ago, my daughter was really young. She was probably at the time, I guess she was going into kindergarten, right? So she was whatever that is, 5. And there was a school in the area I lived in that was a great school, but I literally lived across the street from that school. So I couldn't get into that school. And that was the school you wanted to go to. And I'm sitting down on a one-to-one, we do with our members, having lunch, and we're chatting, and I even mentioned to her, I said, wow, yeah, I wanted my daughter, the school's named Pennington Grimes, I wanted to go to Pennington, but I literally live across the street, so my daughter can't go there. She says to me, why don't you talk to the trustee? I said, I don't know who the trustee is. She goes, I do, it's a good friend of mine. Write a letter explaining the situation, and give me the letter, and I'll hand it to the trustee. Turns out, my daughter went to that school. That was better than a referral at that time because that allowed to put her on a path of education. We know the value of that. Matter of fact, as we fast forward, she's now at NYU Phil, right? And so if she didn't get there, where would she be today? We don't know. So referrals for money is one thing, but having a relationship with friends that can help you in all aspects of your life is another thing. The other side of it is resources. You sitting down in front of a client, you have a problem, to be able to call an attorney up and ask a question. To be able to call up the architect if you're working on some kind of real estate project. You just have a question. The client's asking something, they're thinking about this, they don't know. It's not a referral yet, but they need some information. Being able to provide that information makes you an expert, right? We can think about most of our professions. Could you imagine people coming up to you and asking, I always say, I love CPAs in real estate tend to pass a lot of referrals. Their clients expect them to know people. So imagine someone comes to me and asks you something, I don't know anybody does that. Or bankers too, right? Oh, do you know someone? All day long you get that question. Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know this? Oh, I don't know anybody who does that. Sorry. You're on your own. Right? You need to have a resource. You need to know people. You need to develop relationships and have confidence in them because what they do is going to influence how people see you. Right? And we know that fundamentally. We know that in our lives. How many people have gone to a new restaurant recently? Okay. How many loved the restaurant you went to? Loved it. Did you tell anybody about it? Yes. Why? A couple friends. Why? Okay, both of you. Yeah, why? Right here first. It was really good, right? And did any of them go?
Yeah, a couple came with me.
Right, what did they say?
They said it was really good.
And how'd you feel?
Happy.
Right. And guess what? Don't they think you're smart now?
Yeah.
Right, but that's what we do. We share things with people, and then they say you're right, and I go, I know, because I'm smart. Right? And if we're smart, it implies that we're good at what we do. And if you need our services, come to me. Or come to me when you need something. Right? Those are the people we go to. The people that are likable, trustworthy, smart, and helpful. The people we avoid are those that don't have any value. When you come to organizations like this, you're creating an enormous amount of value, much more than you can do on your own. Right? That's really the reason we come here. Right? What we do on our own, and you think about we talk about power teams or contact spheres, people that work together sharing customers, same thing, right? A real estate transaction, right? If you're going to buy a piece of property, right, we know the litany, right? You got to have how much money you have. Can you afford to buy it, right? We need a mortgage, right? First thing before you can even think about it, a pre-qual. You got to go with your realtor. You got multiple realtors here. Take you out to see a property. Then what? You need an attorney to draw up a contract. You need to have title. You need to have insurance. You need to have a mover. You need to have an architect. You might have an interior design. You may have a contractor from one single transaction. So you have a choice in life. You can go it alone and find all your deals on your own. Good. If you're that good, great. But I promise you, the efforts of one can't beat the efforts of 5, 10, 15, or 20, or even more. Because that's what this is about, multiplying those efforts. And that's what this is about, right? So when you think about it, if you find one, and I find one, and you find one, and you find one, and she finds one, we have 5. That was a fast 10 minutes. Well, we're going to go a few more, sorry. Right? And so that concept is why we're here. But it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's the greatest challenge for all of us. We come to an organization like BNI, and we think because we pay dues that now things should start to roll in. All that is an entry fee, access to the relationships that you will develop on your own if you put in the time, put in the effort, go see people, and really make the difference in other people's lives. Givers Gain is not just a slogan. It's a philosophy that works time in, it's AIDS proven. And I've seen it over the years, and I've watched it in New York, like I said, almost 30 years of doing this. The people that give to an extreme get the most. Matter of fact, the number one referral giver in BNI, in this one chapter, he almost won every week. We track it, as you saw this week, the referral. Craig won it this month, right? He wins every month for, at the time, it was probably like the first 10 years. Like maybe someone beat him 3 or 4 times in 10 years. And so another member comes to me and says, I figured it out. And so I said, okay, I'm going to learn something. Good. What'd you figure it out? He says, you know Ed. I said, yeah, I know Ed. And a member comes, he gives a referral. A new member comes, he gives a referral. A guest comes, gives a referral. I know. He wins every month. What'd you figure out? He's making more money than everybody in the room. While we're thinking, what a nice guy he is, who are you thinking about when you walk out of this room? The person that's passing the most referrals. You have to. Because if something comes up, you want to help them because they helped you. You want to be looked at upon favor in that person's eye. So if you want to be the superstar, and that's what this person said to me, I'm going to pass the most referrals. I'm going to try to beat them every month. I'm going to bring the most amount of guests. I'm going to be the biggest referral giver. I'm going to try to close the most amount of business. If you want to make money, make it happen for others. If you want a big transaction, figure out how someone else can get one big. This all happens in this room, right? But it's all about the energy you bring, the attitude you bring, and the effort to care about others is going to make the difference. BNI is a great organization, certainly, but the greatness is about the people in the room, and it's where you want to take your business to. Set a dream, set a level you want to get to, and then work towards it. And I can promise you the results will be there for you. The last thing I'll say in closing is just remember, when you see someone at the top of the mountain, remember, they didn't fall there. I thank you.